Hello, tea friends. This is Barb Gully of Barb's Tea Service, and we are on our 9th podcast.
Amazing. Number 9.
Number
Is it going to be naughty or will it be nice?
Oh, okay. I think it's going to be really nice.
Okay. Well, that's all we need to know.
Based on our topics
Yes.
for today. So, Chris, hello.
Hello.
He is our BTS podcast co-host, arm candy, and studio engineer.
That's what I do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man about town.
Yep.
And this one, I'm always excited about our podcast, but this one I'm super excited about because we're talking about things that I absolutely love. I'm passionate about.
Yes.
And our theme is outworn is in.
Mm-hmm. What the heck is outworn?
Outworn is a term that's used to describe things that are obsolete, no longer in use.
Mm-hmm.
And we're putting that to a few items that are outworn,
Mm-hmm.
but can still have a very great purpose.
And I should add, as a public service announcement, that we're also providing a really good answer to crossword clues.
Kind of arcane things.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, there we go.
Okay, so it's going to be about salt cellars
Mm-hmm.
and knife rests.
Yeah, a knife rest.
I know. Okay.
Also goes with number 9.
Number 9?
Knife. It's the end sound.
Okay. But first tea.
All right.
Okay.
There we are.
So today I brewed up some Harney's Coronation tea. And for those who are watching on
Yes.
YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
this is it.
Yes.
And I picked this for a couple reasons.
Mhm.
One is it's the month of commemorating the coronation of King Charles III
Mm-hmm.
and Queen Consort Camilla.
And name Charles will come up later today, won't it?
It will. Yes, there's a little sneak preview.
Yes.
So we're getting whipped into a frenzy here. It's so exciting. But so we picked it for that purpose because it's an anniversary. I remember last May 6th,
Mhm.
I was up about 4 o'clock
Mm-hmm.
to watch all the ceremonies.
Right.
And where were you?
Where was I? I don't think I was watching the ceremonies.
I don't think so either. But anyway, so it's been a year already.
Yep.
And this is a Darjeeling blend.
Okay. Now, Darjeeling is an area in India, right?
It is.
Yep.
It is. And I think Harney picked it for a couple of reasons. One, Darjeeling is reported to be King Charles's favorite tea.
Uh-huh.
He likes it with a little bit of honey.
Nice.
Yeah. And also the ties between
Yeah.
Britain and India.
Yeah.
So how do you like this tea?
Well, I like it. So I consulted my flavor wheel.
Okay. Both of them or just one?
Oh, both of them.
Okay, of course.
So it's a black tea. It's lighter. Definitely the kind of the opposite of earthy or that sort of thing.
Right.
Maybe kind of a bit on floral or maybe a little bit of fruit in there, like an orange blossom, and maybe a perfume.
Okay.
Kind of aftertaste. So that's where I'm at on this.
You know, I agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it. That's the perfumey notes at the end.
Yeah.
Excellent. So yes, this is a very nice tasting tea.
Yeah.
And the other reason I should say why I selected the Coronation tea is because with the things that we're talking about today, these outmoded dinnerware,
Mm-hmm.
tableware, and the customs of using them
Right.
always starts with the top, the
Right.
royals.
Yes.
Filters down, aristocracy, nobility, etc., until it gets to the rest of us.
They set the fashion.
They do indeed. So, as I mentioned, we are going to talk about two of these outwears.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the word, or what was it?
Well, it's outworn. This is
Yes,
this is cutlery that has lost its meaning in life.
exactly. It's looking for a home.
There you go.
So, so with the salt cellars and knife rests, we'll start with what I think is probably the oldest,
Right.
and that would be the salt cellars.
Right.
And salt and its value goes way back to ancient times.
Right.
And salt was very desirable
Mm-hmm.
because it was a flavor enhancer
Right.
and also preserved the food.
Right.
And so going back to ancient Rome, soldiers were paid in salt.
Right. And they would be, as you say, worth their salt.
Exactly.
And I think that's also where the word salary comes from.
Is that right?
I think so.
Wow.
We'll make it right.
Okay. That makes sense, though,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay. So as we're getting into medieval times, salt containers
Mm-hmm.
start showing up on the table.
Right.
And I should say what a salt cellar looks like.
Right.
So it's a little bowl.
Right.
I've got a couple here.
All right.
And just think of your grandmother's cut glass bowls
Right.
and shrink it down.
But very small.
Very small, right. So they would be placed on the table,
Mm-hmm.
and it morphed into this status
Right.
thing,
Yeah.
as many things do. And where the salt cellar was placed on the table
Mm-hmm.
and your proximity to it as a dinner guest
Right.
told you how you stood.
Right.
So if you were near the salt cellar,
Mm-hmm.
or what they call above the salt,
Yes.
that meant you were distinguished guests.
You are the hoi polloi.
You absolutely were.
Yeah.
So there was a salt dilemma,
Uh-huh.
salt cellar dilemma, I should say.
As there always is.
Well, this one
Yes.
was a bit of a problem for a king.
Yes.
Dates 1378.
Mhm.
Okay, so we've got a few King Charles.
We
in
do.
here.
Yes.
So it probably requires a little bit more concentration than most of our goings on. But so we have King Charles V of France.
Right.
And he's hosting a dinner, and he's hosting King Charles IV,
Right.
Holy Roman Emperor.
Which historians have noted was neither holy nor Roman nor an empire.
That's right. And a little tangent, we did see a statue
Uh-huh.
of this King Charles IV,
Right.
Holy Roman Emperor,
Yep.
when we were in Prague.
Right. This was the bridge with all of the statues on it.
Right.
And
The
it was-
Charles
oh,
Bridge.
the Charles Bridge, of course.
Yes.
Yes.
Reinforces that.
Right.
Okay, so back to our dinner party.
Yes.
King Charles V of France.
Yep.
He's got the Holy Roman Emperor,
Mm-hmm.
King Charles IV,
Right.
and King Wenceslas, the King of Germany.
Yes.
And his dilemma is, where does he place the salt cellar?
That is a conundrum because, there's a lot of ego. There's some amount of salt and proximity.
Yes.
And that's a tough one. So, how did he solve it?
Okay. I do know the answer because he was in this quandary.
Yep.
Do I put it in front of me,
Yes.
or how do I
Yeah. You don't want to insult your fellow royals
exactly
and start a war.
Right. And we've seen
Yeah.
tensions rise over something similar, but
Right.
what he did was he took out 3 salt cellars.
Amazing.
One for himself
Yep.
and one for the other 2 kings.
Yes. Did that exhaust his supply of salt cellars?
It did not. I believe he had almost over 40.
So he could have had a lot more kings. He was kind of holding back, huh?
He was.
Okay.
Okay, so that was very much like a King Solomon solution.
Yep.
And just a note, that when the colonists came over to New England, they continued this practice
Right.
of where the salt was placed and how that distinguished you
Yep.
as a guest.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're above the salt,
Yep.
you're an honored guest.
Mm-hmm.
If you're below the salt, you're with the children,
Yeah.
or you're just
Yeah.
a nobody.
You're kind of like at Thanksgiving. There's the children's table and the adults table.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Some things just don't end.
No, that's right. So salt cellars, though, started to fall out. They did get more prominence in the Victorian times because we see more is more.
Right.
The more things you had on the table, the more it showed your wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And when we get to the beginning of the 1900s,
Right.
they start falling out of favor. Well,
Or flavor, yeah.
because in 1912, an anti-caking agent
Right.
is made, and we can use a salt shaker with no problem.
Yes. I love technology in our modern days.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So now we don't see them for salt. However, we are going to talk towards the end about how we repurpose them.
Yes.
Because we love them and collect them. Well, I collect them.
Yes.
You might love them a little less.
Yeah.
Okay. So, knife rests.
Okay, here we go.
So, Chris, do you recall when I re-entered the world of knife rest, but where we first became acquainted or reacquainted with the knife rest?
Where we actually saw one in the wild. Right? In use.
Yes.
So it was one of our trips with your brother and your sister-in-law, and I think we're doing a little snowbirding in Myrtle Beach, and we stopped off was that West Virginia?
It was West Virginia.
And at a place called Trinkle Mansion.
Yes.
Lovely place.
Lovely place. So, yeah, Ed found this place, and it was a real treasure. It was beautiful.
It was a B&B.
It was a B&B, so we stayed overnight. And I will say, unfortunately, it's no longer
Right.
In business, but it was beautiful chandeliers
Right.
and everything. And then
The proprietress actually talked about how she hand dusted this incredibly ornate chandelier, and I should mention she was kind of walking around with a cane at the time. I think she had had hip problems or something
Yes.
like that. It's like, how on earth are you doing this?
Right. Because there was more than one
Oh
chandelier.
yeah, they were all over the place. Yeah.
And we asked how long it took her to do one,
Yeah.
and she wouldn't say.
Yeah,
So
right,
we
yeah.
know it was a long time. And that was rather
Right.
daunting task.
Right.
But for the knife rests,
Mhm.
she had knife rests on our breakfast table in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And she was using them to hold teaspoons
Yep.
for those of us who were having coffee or tea.
Right.
You could, if you're adding a little milk,
Yep.
and you could set your spoon on the knife rest. And
Keeping it off the coffee table
exactly off the
or off the
tablecloth.
tablecloth. Thank you. Whatever that thing is.
wherever you're going to put it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show this to the camera.
Yep.
But if you're just listening, it's the shape of a
Think of a dumbbell for hamsters.
yes, that would be even big for them. But right, it's in a
Barbell shape. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And this one in particular is crystal.
Uh-huh.
And so they just rest on your table,
Right.
and then your knife
Yep.
rests like this. Okay.
Or teaspoon.
A teaspoon, right. So going back to the Trinkle Mansion, when I saw these on the table, I went back 50 years, probably over 50 years
Yes.
to a childhood memory.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first encountered knife rests. And I remember I regaled the group
Yes.
at the breakfast table, and I
Right.
think your exact words were, "Oh, she's starting again."
Here we go.
Here we go. But so what happened was 12 years old in junior high,
Mm-hmm.
and this group of friends that I had, we would do slumber parties. And Julie
Mm-hmm.
had, Julie Pierce, she had a slumber party at her home.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in Bloomfield Hills.
Uh-huh.
It was up on a hill,
Yep.
mid-century,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think we called it that back then.
Because we were mid-century.
We are mid-century, right. So there's a group of us, and we are in their living room, which is adjacent to their dining room.
Mm-hmm.
And we're rolling out our sleeping bags, and we're talking about whatever. And we
Cute boys, right?
exactly. And I fulfilled my destiny. So we're looking up in the dining room, and on the wall, her parents had a bunch of these shadow boxes
Mm-hmm.
with this item
Yep.
that we didn't know what it was.
Yes.
And they were mostly crystal.
Uh-huh.
At the time, we didn't know what it was, but it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And they were in this, like, encased in black velvet as a background,
Right.
and really pretty. But none of us knew what it was. So we're just going, oh, that's so pretty. And so one of the friends of ours who was most least concerned about
Yeah.
what people thought about her, she said, "What are those?"
Yeah.
So Julie proceeded to tell us that they were knife rests and that her parents collected it.
Uh-huh.
So that was my first encounter. Okay, so fast forward to 2021.
Yep.
We go to the Trinkle Mansion,
There it is.
and there they are. And I fell in love with them all over again. So I wanted to learn more.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to look for a book on knife rests.
Mm-hmm.
And would you believe I actually found, I found one.
Yes.
Is that shocking?
I can't believe you even found one.
That's all I could find was this one. And I'll put this up again here.
Yep. Uh-huh.
So this book was written in 2003
Uh-huh.
by Dean Rockwell. And he's a local. He's a Michigan resident.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was. He passed away, I think, 2 years after the book was published. But he was 95, 93 when he wrote the book.
Yeah.
And it's an autograph copy because I think it's out of print.
Mm-hmm.
And it's to Joe and Gloria.
Somebody.
But it's signed from Dean.
Yeah.
And this book held two amazing surprises for me.
Yes.
I was shocked.
Yes.
First one, in the acknowledgments. So Dean was a collector from 1968 going forward,
Mm-hmm.
and he went to a lot of museums and a lot of libraries in search of information on knife rests. And,
Mhm.
and he didn't find a lot,
Right.
believe it or not. But anyway, in his acknowledgement section, he talks about that he's thanking all the libraries, all the
Mhm.
museums who
Mhm.
helped him. And at the end, he acknowledges his thanks to Mr. Pierce
Amazing.
of Bloomfield Hills for sharing his research and notes.
Full circle for knife rests.
How did I know? 12 years old,
Yeah.
I'm in the
Yeah.
home of somebody who's a renowned expert on knife rests.
Wow.
I know. Okay, hold the applause.
Okay.
The second surprise was in the chapter that's called Porcelain Knife Rests.
Yes.
There is a picture of a knife rest,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very rare.
Uh-huh.
It is a pair of ceramic knife rests. And the reason they're rare is because it's the only pair in the U.S. that can be traced to a single manufacturer.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw this picture and where it's located, it was incredible. It's in the Brooklyn Museum.
Yes, that's right.
And it just so happened that year,
Mm-hmm.
we had planned a trip to Brooklyn, to New York.
Right.
Our son's friend was getting married.
Right. We were kindly invited.
Yes, we were. It was really fun.
Yeah.
And I don't recall any knife rests at the...
No.
No. Okay. But it was in the Brooklyn Museum. We were staying
Right.
very close to the Brooklyn Museum.
Yeah. Made a little side trip.
So we made a little side trip to see these.
Mhm.
And I was a little worried because I thought when we went there, maybe they didn't have them or maybe they wouldn't know what I was talking about.
Yep.
I go right up to the help desk and I said, I'm looking for these porcelain knife rests.
And the young lady behind the glass was on it.
She was. She said, oh, they're a pair, correct?
Yeah.
I said, yes. She didn't even flinch.
Yeah.
So we found out that it was on the upper floor.
Right.
What was that? It was the...
well, it was their store. It was kind of their miscellaneous storage area for things that weren't on active display. But people, it was open to the public, so you kind of go through a door and it's kind of referred to it as your grandmother's attic, I guess.
Right.
And there's just all kinds of different stuff. But yeah, sure enough, there was a locator for a certain cabinet, and we made a beeline, and there we were.
Right. And I did take a live video.
Yeah.
I think it's still on my YouTube channel.
All right.
If not, I'll post it up there. But do you remember just that moment of seeing those behind the glass?
I was agog.
I was too. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Plus, it got us to that museum, which is, like you said, it's incredible. They have all kinds of interesting things. So we had a lot of fun there.
Yep.
Okay. So while we're talking about utensils, might be interesting to just talk about how utensils evolve.
Yes.
Because we take them for granted,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of what we use are just as commonplace.
Right.
Just a couple hundred years old.
Fairly recent.
Right. So up until Georgian times in England, which I'm going to say is about 1760 to 1830. That is the right time frame, not approximately. But that's when utensils really came into use. So your knife, fork, and spoon.
Right. In forms that we would recognize.
Exactly. So in Georgian times, we have a growing upper middle class, and people are entertaining. Going to a dinner party was the thing.
Right.
That was the highlight.
Yep.
And so people put a lot into their entertaining and going.
Right.
Previous to this time, people would bring their own utensils. But now, again, got a little bit more money, a little more emphasis on fancy entertaining.
Yep.
Your guest is going to have all those utensils.
And so you don't have to bring your own.
Exactly. Can you imagine today bringing your own knife and fork?
That would be kind of rude, wouldn't it?
Yes. It would be. Yep. Okay. So with this, and we often talk about, how did etiquette come about? Or what was the purpose of etiquette?
Right.
In modern times, it's really just to make sure we're all feeling confident about how we do things and to be gracious.
Right.
But with the onset of dining together, and being all at the table and using your fancy stuff, it was required to have some decorum.
Yes.
Manners were set in place to eliminate violence at the table.
Okay.
So I guess back in the day, if you're a little unhappy, you might just
with your own knife you brought.
Your own knife. Yeah. Well, so here is the agreed upon societal norms. We're all going to behave.
Yes.
We all know that sometimes that's still.
Yeah.
Remember Thanksgiving with your family.
That's right.
So.
And they put me at the kids' table again.
You were below the salt.
Yeah.
So here we have the combination of dining etiquette, manners, and the knife and fork.
Right.
And so that's also when the knife rest would have been in place too.
Yeah, to keep them. People didn't have laundry. Laundry service was some person washing your stuff.
Exactly. So they had this your nice linen tablecloth. If you put your spent knife or whatever, it would soil it. And so this was where all this stuff comes in.
Right.
And then, as we said, now as we're getting towards the end of the 1800s, early 1900s, the knife rest also meets the fate of the salt cellar.
Right. Because you got a washing machine.
Right. A couple of things.
Yeah.
With these modern conveniences coming on board, you have washing machine, dishwasher,
Right.
The opportunity to buy and replace things a lot easier.
Right.
Plus, in that time period with World War I, et cetera, people had opportunities outside of being a servant or
Right. Yeah.
household staff. There
Sure.
are other opportunities. And also, there was less emphasis on all this fancy entertaining.
Right.
So not so much a need for it.
Yep.
But it doesn't mean it's over for these outdated.
Right. They're still there.
Items.
They're in somebody's cabinet, and we got to do something with it.
Exactly. So for the salt cellars,
Mm-hmm.
what I learned on one of the tea time
Right.
online courses is that you can use these for your tea table, your afternoon tea table.
Yes.
Take your little small bowl,
Yep.
and you could put your lemon curd or clotted cream,
Yep.
and
serve it elegantly.
serve it elegantly, and everybody can have their own.
Yes.
Much like the Kings
Uh-huh.
did have their own salt cellar.
Right.
So you're going to have your own for your lemon curd. And I have a few
Mhm.
different sizes, but since I love lemon curd and clotted cream, I'm always going for the bigger one.
Right.
And as we saw with the knife rest, they can be repurposed and used for
Mhm.
the teaspoon.
Right.
Okay.
Very good.
And one last thing. Can you think of any other of these outworn?
Well, there was I think in our travels, like there's a piece of cutlery called a fish knife,
Yes.
which seems oddly specific.
Fish knife and fork. Yes, and we came on that in the Lake District.
Yes. Yes.
What was the name of that bed and breakfast? Oh boy.
Was that the one in Castleton or?
No, it
No.
was in 2018.
Oh, okay.
That the really
Yeah. Shoot.
you'll remember.
Yeah. So Windermere.
Yes.
I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we were in Windermere, and they had a fish knife and fork. We ordered fish.
Right.
I was really excited.
Yeah.
And this was real popular in Victorian times
Uh-huh.
because, again, more is more. And it's also fully defined
Yes.
in Barbs Tea Services etiquette
Yep.
and dining, afternoon tea and etiquette
Yep.
dining. So
Yep.
for those who want to know more about the fish knife, it's in that.
Yep.
And do I hear that certain sound?
I think you do. Here we go.
All right, that's a sound that never gets outworn, does it?
It better not.
All right, well, thank you all for listening/watching. Thanks to On TV Studios for letting us be here.
Yes.
Thanks to my special co-host and knife rest and salt cellar
Guy.
tolerant.
Yeah.
And as always, just a reminder, we're on YouTube, Barb's Tea Service.
Yep.
Check out our blog.
Yep.
And thank you for staying tuned.
Excellent. Okay.